Ladies and gentlemen, it is Thursday, the first day of November. We are less than 6 days out from the biggest puppet show on Earth. And no, it isn't P.T. Barnum and Bailey Circus. It is election 2012 with the star of Fast and Furious and government, healthcare, and banker bailouts, Barack Obama, against Mr. Carbon Tax, author of Obamacare, anti-gun, globalist banker raider, Mitt Romney. And who loves you and who do you love? The greatest show on earth, The Running Man, and Mad Dog Ben Richards and his cohorts ready to race and fight for it all in The Running Man. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. I personally am going to vote for Emperor Palpatine right now here in Texas. I'm going to go out and vote for him today because I think, I just want pure open evil out in the open, better than evil disguising itself, much less puppets disguising themselves. Here's the deal. I never successfully have done it. Not in 17 years on radio. I've gotten close a few times and taken like 20, 30 calls in an hour. But I really do. I think part of the reason is that we don't screen calls, which makes them really interesting and makes the show really powerful and live. But at the same time, you also get a lot of folks that are, sitting back having a brew, sitting there for 30 minutes on hold. When you go to them, sometimes they're in a coma. We always have the best callers out there when we say, I want to hear from engineers on this subject, or I want to hear from police, or I want to hear from nurses being forced to take inoculations, or I want to hear from school teachers. If we ask for demographics, we got it all. But we're not going to screen the calls today, and it can be a free-for-all, but I'm going to have John Harmon up there at Genesis working his butt off. He always does a great job because we're going to try to take 5 calls every 5 minutes in this first hour. And that means I will just come back, briefly mention some of the headlines, and then get to all those headlines in detail in the second and third hour with Stewart Rhodes of Oath Keepers, who's going to be riding shotgun with us. I had him on for about 45 minutes Sunday, and there's just so much to talk about. He's a constitutional lawyer, scholar, award-winning constitutional lawyer, author, and Army veteran, and he will be joining us about the fact that we are basically simply filling out the future battle space. Now, we're going to cover more on the hurricane. We're going to get more into the economy that I covered some yesterday, but I've got to get more into because there's a lot of things that are being distracted by the hurricane and the election, and that's what's happening militarily, geopolitically. We will get to the key points on that today. They now admit looting over a 5-state area, very intense in New Jersey, in different cities like Atlantic City and other areas like Manhattan and the surrounding areas. Coney Island just absolutely pilfered at will, and a lot of arrests there. Will we see a retraction out of the Atlantic Monthly online? Will we see a retraction out of the Daily Communist, the Daily Beast, with the Newsweek front? Saying we were insane Monday for saying that there'd be looting and people were tweeting they were planning to loot. See nowadays, you're bad if you're right. So that is going to be coming up. And they've had to deploy troopers in New Jersey and New York and other areas over frustration fights and things breaking out. They're out of gas. And I guess I'm bad again. In Strategic Relocation, the new film with Joel Scalzo, where it's not about running out and living in the countryside. That's if you're retired and have the money to do it and want to do that. It's about every city by city, the escape routes the general public doesn't know about. The book that you can get with it is basically a giant, well, it's not basically, detailed, tracked, personally driven, and scouted by Joel Scalzo, former Marine Corps fighter pilot from Vietnam and expert on the New World Order. He's gone and scouted all these areas and broken down escape routes, just all the data. And by the way, he's got a breakdown of all the countries in the world, which ones are best to move to if you are. It's all in there, available at InfoWars. It is Thursday, November 1st, 2012. I am your host, Alex Jones, and I want to thank all of you for tuning in today. If you're listening on your local AM and FM dial, or if you are simply listening over the internet at Infowars.com or Prisonplanet.com, or watching us via InfoWarsNews.com. where we are streaming video of the radio show. We also have the nightly news transmission, 7 o'clock Central every night at InfoWarsNews.com as well. And, of course, we also have folks listening on XM 166 to the transmission live as well. Okay, Stewart Rhodes, constitutional lawyer, Army veteran, founder of Oath Keepers, will be joining us in the next hour to cover the waterfront. The FEMA camps, the government documents admitting the re-education centers, the legislation, the civilian inmate labor camp programs, the facts, and what his intel is giving him with all the police and military contacts he has, because he heads up the only and also obviously the largest serious anti-New World Order, pro-America veteran and police group, where they simply say they will defend the Republic from enemies foreign and domestic and follow their oaths. Of course, that sounds very simple, doesn't it? But that is treason to the foreign banks that brag in hundreds of publications and on television that they have conquered the United States through financial espionage and fraud. We have been infiltrated. We have to get in the globalist face and expose them as the criminals they are and bring them to justice. You know, I was thinking about Fast and Furious today, and I saw this CNET news article. Court okays warrantless use of hidden surveillance cameras on your property without a warrant. Big Brother putting cameras on your property and filming you without a warrant. And they're announcing they're watching you over your cell phones. The NSA is listening to you without a warrant illegally. And they say they're doing this to stop drugs. I thought it was Al-Qaeda they run. But it's just so amazing to know that government and megabanks on record have been caught, not hundreds, but thousands of times. There have been congressional hearings in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. The CIA's Inspector General had to certify that they did bring narcotics in during the 80s to destabilize things and fund Iran-Contra. And the troops are on Fox, CNN, you name it, growing opium and admitting they grow the opium and saying that's how they fight Al-Qaeda. 10 years ago, less than 10% of the opium in the world came out of Afghanistan. Now it's 93%. Last U.S. number I saw. I mean, the government is run by foreign banks that run the child kidnapping rings, the narcotics trafficking, the illegal weapons trafficking. Organized crime runs the world now. And organized crime wants to shut down the final free speech. Organized crime wants to be able to secretly arrest you and have no due process, and is hiring criminals into law enforcement to wage war against we the people. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. Another Florida court is set to rule and a judge is saying that they think it's great to have dogs just randomly out of the blue come to your house and smell for drugs and then come in without warrants. I haven't covered this yet because I'm so busy. I think I'm going to do a story on it. Because I almost did a story on this last year when I started hearing these radio ads and seeing TV ads saying, you know, the Software Association of America, I forget its exact name. Will you guys ask Tim Frugier to give me that letter, please? You know, call and tattle if someone's pirating software. Well, we buy every piece of software we use in here unless it's GNU or Linux, you know, open source. We do have a lot of open source stuff because it's sometimes there isn't even a off-the-shelf system to use. We have to customize it. But, you know, we use some big companies as well, and we are neurotic about following every little stupid thing. I don't let people do their private business here on their computers at my offices because they could be connecting into things on the internet I don't want going over our network. I mean, it's all work-related when you're here at this office. If you want to do something on your lunch break, go out and do it on your iPhone or iPad outside if you want to go pay your bills or whatever. Don't do it on my system. But I found out that thousands of people a month are getting this letter. They send you a letter and they say, we have proof that you're pirating all this software, and they list it, and they say, you're going to pay us money or we're going to sue you. It's like basically an extortion letter, in my opinion and view, and I've got lawyers on it. But most people just freak out. I mean, they say we're pirating medical software. Yeah, because we're a hospital. Just all sorts of stuff that we don't use, wouldn't use, and is obsolete. But our IT guys looked into it. None of what they list is on our system, but we did find other stuff where people are surfing the news, and it installs, you're trying to get it off, just little crud programs, and it says, oh, here's your free trial, but you've got to uninstall it in 30 days or it's theft. And you know, my issue is I'm too busy fighting the New World Order, but someone needs to litigate against all these groups. But the reason I mention that before I get to some of the news and then open the phones up here is that when you sit there and you deal with all of this, yeah, here, go ahead and bring it on here. Yeah, I'm going to get to this later, though. I'm going to do a report on this later. And you get this lawyer letter, and it says, litigation hold notice. And then it goes into just all of these programs we don't even use. Just absolutely amazing. You know, Final Cut Pro, Premiere, Adobe, all the stuff we use, it's all here. You know, we have those big group licenses, you name it. And of course, none of that's even listed here. Just total, you're going to give us a bunch of money or we're going to sue you. And a lot of people don't, they just get scared and roll over. But side issue, the reason I just thought of that and mentioned that is it's so easy for your neighbor to call and say, yeah, I saw the kids playing in the front yard. And the police come and arrest you for child endangerment because your 11-year-old was playing in the front yard. It's not even illegal. But they call it endangerment. They just define it. It's so easy to go to jail for a garden now. They say, well, the city finds it objectionable. We just say objectionable in our little local law that's obviously, if it was challenged, would be overthrown. But even when it's overthrown, no one gets in trouble. This is just the bureaucratic criminal class run by foreign corporations teaching us we're absolute slaves. But now they're saying, well, your neighbor will just say, yeah, I smelled marijuana. Boom, you get SWAT teamed. I know a lot of people, we've done news reports on this, who get SWAT teamed over blood weeds. They look a little bit like marijuana. They grow in pretty much every yard. If you've got like an acre piece of property, you let weeds grow up, you're going to get blood weed. It looks a little bit like marijuana. And they say, well, we flew over with a helicopter and we saw it. And in one story I did about, 12 years ago with Mike Hansen, we had to dig that up and put it online. And I know we've got the tape around here somewhere. We put it on local access TV. You know, pretty much pre-internet revolution when it was really widespread and operable to really use internet online. Pre-YouTube, basically, when we couldn't afford to put it online ourselves. And to make a long story short, they went into this area and SWAT teamed like 7 houses. And they just flew over with a helicopter and videotaped to go get a warrant, because they got a warrant in this case, bloodweed growing on the green belt behind the houses. And the cops were laughing. They knew it was Travis County. They knew it wasn't marijuana. And they went into one guy's house and pulled out his Playboys and made fun of him in front of his kids and, you know, said, what's this to BB guns? And, you know, I mean, it's just mindlessness. And most narcotics police are dealing drugs themselves. I mean, that's come out everywhere. Most big police departments, even Dallas has been caught a few years ago, planting drugs on people who had nice cars. They just wanted to take them. They're organized crime syndicates. By and large, the drug war must be ended or it's over. But this is the new economy. Hey, somebody told us you've got pirated software for hospital systems, and we're going to sue you if you don't pay us money. And you know what? I've been hit with these slap suits with similar things, and I go to court and I beat them, but then we've got to sit here and spend money and time beating it. And I think I'm just going to have to get to the point where I'm going to have to start suing people and really aggressively winning. So when I get these letters, I can send them news articles about our lawsuits. So I'm now going to have to go into a prosecutory mode with all of these bottom feeders, just because I can't sit here and slap them down and beat them when they do this stuff. You know, these are just threats of suits. And I talk about behind the scenes stuff. This is the type of thing. But now they're saying, we're just going to randomly, in fact, the court said, we're just going to, like, during Halloween, we're going to just come to your door with dogs because you're putting candy out. That means you're giving us an excuse to come to your door. You're hanging out a shingle that I want to open the door to you. They're claiming that's like a vampire. You're inviting them in. They're going to come with a dog and just see if they, you know, if there's any wafting drug smell with some fat beagle or German shepherd that gets biscuits all day. I mean, I've had friends that don't use drugs where they've gotten the fat beagle out of the car. You know, Roscoe Pico train gets Flash out and comes over and, oh, he says we're gonna get a warrant for that now. That probable cause right there, little honey baby. I mean, I've had enough of this. Our country is converting to tyranny. All right, here's the toll-free number. We're going to take a ton of calls. We're going to get into the hurricane. Stewart Rhodes is coming on. But I want to take a lot of calls today on the election, on the hurricane, on the police state, on whatever you want. but the government's hungry and it wants to eat out your substance as the Declaration of Independent States. Toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9231, 800-259-9231. Big show today. Lined up for you, Infowars.com. They're running out of gasoline on the East Coast. More looting continuing that the national media attacked yours truly for saying would take place. The Atlantic magazine said it doesn't exist. It's a myth there's ever looting after a hurricane. Forget all the facts that we see in the Americas, from the Caribbean to the United States. There's always looting after a hurricane. The question is the severity. We're going to look at all that. We're going to look at the geopolitical news and a lot more. Bloomberg Business Week says it's global warming, stupid. That's why New York has been flooded many times by storm surge. Mainly the storm surge, high waves, and then a full moon, together with the tide and high storm surge coming in, flooded things. It's happened hundreds of times in the last 400, 500 years of recorded history on the East Coast, dozens of times in New York. And the answer is pay Al Gore and Bloomberg that are invested in carbon credit trading scams, pay them money. Suckers. After all, Bloomberg says you can't have guns, you can't have 16-ounce drinks. Now he's going to ban popcorn because he says it's bad for you. And Chicago, I saw an article yesterday about how bad the Chicago school system food is. But don't worry, Mommy and Daddy can't pack lunches in many Chicago school districts. And now that's spreading nationwide. It's orders of Michelle Obama. The president's wife decides what kids eat now. That sounds like a free country. Can you imagine 50 years ago if you said, you know, in 2012, in the next century, the president's wife will tell kids what to eat, and parents won't be able to pack lunches, and school-issued laptops will watch kids at home. You'd say, shut up, this isn't 1984. This isn't 1984. 1984 isn't coming true. George Orwell's book had just been published 60 years ago. Been out for a few years. You'd say, that's crazy. That'll never happen. Okay, I said I'd take a lot of calls. I've just got all this news spread out in front of me, but I want to give you a chance to respond to the election, whatever's on your mind. Each person's got a minute. Let's go to Kelly in North Carolina. You're first up at bat. Welcome.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for taking my call. Real quick, have you done any research on, I guess, the dome that's over in the Grand Canyon? Well, I can't say that. I think it's something about Hoover Dam and Barack Obama and Halo 4. Have you looked at that at all?
I mean, what's the source, ma'am? Hoover Dam, Halo 4. Okay.
Hoover Dam, they're saying on Mr. Fuji Time 1, it's a YouTube video that has just come out and has got a lot of hits on it right now, and they're saying that the Hoover Dam has something to do with Barack Obama and some type of flood that's supposed to happen and kill millions of people, and Halo 4 has some connection to it.
Well, ma'am, listen, government could pull false flags, and I appreciate your call, but part of something government does on purpose, not just individuals, is they flood the news with flying saucers will land in New York next month, and they give the date, and everybody's out there waiting for it. Or they say there's going to be a nuclear attack on this day, and that doesn't happen. And then we get on air and say they're going to launch a war in the Middle East last year, and they've since launched a hot war against Iran, which they admit on C-SPAN they're doing. They've launched a hot war in Libya and Syria. Those are wars, but people say, Alex, where's the war? It never happened. And hundreds of thousands are dying total. If you count Libya, Syria, Sudan, all these conflicts, with the West funding al-Qaeda. I mean, it's like people always want to talk about chemtrails. What are they? Hey, look in the sky. But then I'm like, okay, here are documents. Here's the admission of the aerosol program, how they're doing it. I don't want to see that. What is it? No one knows. It's like the mystery is solved. We know what's going on. And there's just always, you know, the Nacera Project. Next month, you know, the good guys will arrest the bad guys. Never happens. You know, Obama visited the Hoover Dam back on October 2nd, and there's nothing going on with the Hoover Dam. And the mere fact that, yeah, we don't screen your calls. I'm not saying you're bad to call in about it. I get emails and calls constantly. Every week, I even have family ask me about stuff, but you've got to look at the sources. You know, there are online sites out there that every week say Russian intelligence is providing information that there was a, you know, that Bill Gates was arrested or this or that. It's just not true. Meanwhile, Bill Gates is in ABC News saying we want world government to forcibly reduce population. I mean, if you go to Infowars.com right now, they are taking mentally disabled women and who happen to get pregnant and forcing them to have abortions, saying they can't take care of the kid. Not even when the babies are healthy and can be adopted. If they can't kill the kid, then they want the state to take the kid. Here's some of the headlines at Infowars.com. Actor, if Romney wins by slim margin, America will explode. Find out what actor is saying that. It's a pretty prominent one. And if someone has been a guest on this show, that's up at Infowars.com. We'll tell you about it when we come back. Court may force mentally disabled Nevada woman to have abortion. Unbelievable. Overpopulation is eugenics agenda lie. Melissa Melton. Police state growth is exploding.
We're
Talk about jumping the gun. Ha-ha. We are back live, ladies and gentlemen. I am Alex Jones. We're going to your calls here in a minute. I'm going to try to race through them, so have your point, your question ready. Finishing up with the lady calling in, sounded very nice. I looked up what she was talking about. People see things in video games, and because there's been TV programs on before that show exactly what later happens, like 9/11, Fox TV put out a lone gunman episode where the government hijacks a jet to fly it in the World Trade Center to blame it on Afghan terrorists, to bring in martial law and take Americans' liberties. And they remote control the aircraft again and blame it on Afghans. That's called throwing it in your face. But you know, in the case of most of these, 99% of the time, okay, there's a video game saying the Hoover Dam is going to get blown up. That doesn't mean that's going to happen. But 2 weeks ago, I covered the article where actors in these TV shows that play the part of American patriot terrorist, part of the branding, people start fights with them on the street thinking they're really that person. And that's because the public is a bunch of zombies raised on television from birth who cannot differentiate reality from unreality. I remember seeing a documentary on many years ago. It's probably like 20 years ago on A&E, I think it was. It was fascinating. We should dig that up. Where, well, it was a documentary about Gilligan's Island and how people would see the stars for decades who were typecast from the 1960s program, and they would say, where is that island? I want to visit that island. And charter companies would have people come for decades and say, we want to go to that island. And they're like, no, that's a TV show. That's not real. And you've got people that are worse than children. I mean, they have no idea. I was sitting there once, and a young woman, we were eating meat, and the young woman was a teenager. And she said, well, how do they get the meat from the cows? Do they have surgeries? And I made the joke, yeah, they have a surgery, all right. You seen how Freddy Krueger does surgery? Yeah, I mean, these people don't know where electricity comes from. They don't know how their bodies work. They don't know anything. And the criminals that run things, folks, are going wild. Bloomberg, the control freak that wants to tell you what to drink, what to eat, what to do. I mean, he is out of control, makes his money out of, you know, all sorts of, you know, inside deals. Bloomberg ordered people, because they're already getting, the London's already done this, German cities have already done this. He says, okay, now everything's carpooling. And it just shut the whole city down, total gridlock. They don't care. It's all about the raw exercise of power with these people. You're not going to pack your kid a school lunch. We're going to feed them crap. Michelle Obama says so. Okay, I'm going to go to your calls here. I just wanted to play this video for TV viewers, but narrate it for radio listeners. Here is shocking in New York, and we'll put it up on screen. This is up at drudgereport.com. You can link through over there to it. In Crown Heights, surveillance camera, and they just beat somebody up, trip them, and then not only do they rob them, the gang joins in cowardly on beating and stomping the person. And this is a big, hot thing that's done in Chicago, New York, even Dallas. It's done in L.A., where the funnest thing is to sucker punch an old man and then have their head hit the ground and kill them in a big pool of blood. We've all seen those videos. They're very popular entertainment on the gangbanger sites. Beating someone who's old and weak is the big prize. Of course, wouldn't it be nice to see an old man like it'd be in Texas pull out a revolver and kill the thugs? But see, no. This is the happy hunting ground of New York City, where if the thugs don't get you, the cops probably will. And I've even talked to Austin cops who've been there and asked directions from cops and been screamed at in New York. Do I look like a phone book? Let me see your ID. They'll even do that in front of families with kids because they're thugs. And they won't protect you, and they won't let you protect yourself. And then they have people that have taken guns illegally on the subway, who've been robbed over and over again, who kill a bunch of people that attack them, and then they try to put them in jail. What's that guy's name? He's famous. He's a listener. He called in, and I confirmed it was him years ago, had him on as a guest. The point is that you try to loot my house, you're dead. You try to attack me, you're dead. But see, what's even sadder about this is these thugs, they do it to old people, folks. They do it to old people. And they do it to people with little kids with them sometimes. I've seen mothers beat up with their little kids. This is what America is. This is what America has become. And they take little kids for minor offenses and throw them in juvie, where they get raped and everything. They get inducted, and the worst criminals in the juvenile halls become their role models, and this is our new culture. This is what America is. And a lot of the gangbangers end up becoming police now. So that's the new America. Before I go to your calls, as promised, I want to race through them here. Before I do that, InfoWars magazine is out. Speaking about people in a trance, we have all the medical factoids proof, epilepsy being caused by television, rewiring of children's brains, the public in a trance-like state by design. It's all right here in the new InfoWars magazine. And, of course, we got 4 articles on zombies in it. We've got articles on the Second Amendment, the police state, the New World Order, the surveillance grid. It is all in the new magazine. And the best way to wake somebody up this Christmas is to get a 12 issues, 13 when we have enough of the last issue to send out. Most of you will get 13. When you first sign up for a subscription, you'll get 2 in the mail the first time. But we can't guarantee that. But most people will get 13. But guaranteed 12 issues delivered to your friends, your family, the police station's door, the library's door, the college dorm's door, your alumni center door, whatever it is, the Forest Service door. You just go and you just put in the address and pay for it, and we'll mail 13 of these out, probably 13, guaranteed 12. Sometimes we have extra back issues. We may put 3 in. The point is, in that first issue, it might be 14. The point is 12 issues over and over and over again. And let me tell you something. We've done time lapses of these. We put on the street now 70,000 in Austin, free, because it just gets the word out, and I just love it. Here in my town where I live, I put these out, and we've done time lapse right next to the other newspapers and magazines. 10 to 1. They pick up our magazine to every other, quote, free local magazine, the Austin Chronicle, you name it. These things disappear at almost every newsstand within days when we put 50 to 100 of them out. So the point is that InfoWars magazine, we ship it out to you, the subscriptions at cost, and you can buy them in bulk at cost in groups of 10 up to 100. And they're big color books, basically, to wake up friends and family like the founders did with the pamphleteers. So calling pamphleteers, all of you, it looks like this is going to sell out like the first issue did. We didn't sell out of the second issue. We almost did. But I printed 110,000 that time. That's why. We printed 100,000 of these, 30,000 we can sell or put in subscriptions, 70,000 now going out on the streets of Austin. Zombies, The Secret Life of Zombies. Are you a zombie? So important. And it's got a big crossword puzzle on the back about the New World Order. It's got the incredible artist profile of Ben Garrison, the famous patriot, and he's also a listener. Cartoonist. I mean, just a weapon system to wake people up. InfoWarsStore.com to go get your subscription or get a gift subscription. We've also got the new film, Strategic Relocation, breaking down the safest areas, even in your area, down to the safest countries if you do want to evacuate the United States, which we pretty much recommend you don't do because the whole world's going to hell in a handbasket under globalist design. But if you've got to punch out because they're already after you, it's got those all listed. And, of course, you can get Strategic Relocation, the book that goes with it, and The Secure Home by Joel Skousen, discounted at InfoWarsStore.com. Okay, enough from me. Let's go to your phone calls. Karen in Arizona, you're on the air. Thank you for holding. Welcome.
Yes, Alex, are you aware on October 26th, just 4 days before Sunday, Obama signed an executive order establishing the White House Homeland Security Partnership Council?
Yes, and that goes in and basically takes over your local governments, your local police, your local everything.
That dovetails with the police consolidation law enforcement. Yes, it does. And it's, State Department, Department of Treasury, Department of Defense, Department of Justice, Department of Interior. It does. Even the Department of Veterans Affairs, you name it. It lists a whole bunch of things that the Bureau of Investigation. It lists a lot of everything.
Well, you know why Hitler did this, so did Lenin, and then later Stalin did it. When you want to get rid of the old bureaucracy that you don't control, who aren't total criminals, you just create a new bureaucracy and then you start putting everything under it so that Congress, who controlled the old bureaucracy as it's supposed to a certain extent, Congress, Homeland Security, DHS, TSA is now absolutely a power unto itself. And the federal courts are ruling they can disappear you forever and kill you. There's no more Fourth Amendment. They are announcing their lawlessness. What does Satan do? He stomps around roaring, seeing who he may devour.
The Department of Justice, too. That means our legal system.
Well, the legal system is run by Eric Holder, who helped cover up Oklahoma City. That came out in court. Was clearly, from my research, intimately involved and did the false flag of Fast and Furious. This is a mafia. And they've now destroyed the country, and they're going to fully rob it now. And we are in grave danger. Everyone must non-comply as much as you can and speak out against the enemy occupation force. God bless you, ma'am. Yes, we did not really, I mentioned that a few weeks ago, but never, or a week ago or so, never even got into it properly. They have the Rural Council over the 10 regions with Homeland Security and the Department of Defense over rural areas. They're having local meetings about spying on your neighbors in rural areas. It's Red Dawn, folks, in slow motion. We've been hit. We've been hit hard. Now they're putting in the internet and talk radio kill switches and announcing that. And when they stage a big terror attack, whether it's Obama or Romney or whatever puppet comes, they'll try to then drop the hammer on us. So we've got to get the word out now while we still got communication capabilities. Joe in Pennsylvania, you're on the air.
Yeah, how you doing there, Mr. Jones?
Good, sir. Good to hear your voice. Welcome.
I want to know what happened to the backbone and the spirits and the pride of the people. I went on and I looked at the Twitters where the people were saying they were going to loot, and then when they went up there and they put on the pictures of them looting, and there's no mention of it in the media anywhere. I called a bunch of the news programs, left messages, hoping to get something on there, and it's just so disheartening.
No, all the gang attacks on the East Coast are only on local community feed, local cable systems. The national news will not pick up the violent attacks because then people would say, and by the way, they're calling in New York for concealed carry that everybody else is getting because they want to protect themselves. And the answer by the mob boss, Bloomberg, is, I'm going to tell you what to eat. I'm going to tell you who can ride in your car. I'm your boss. Is that clear? Or I'm going to smack you.
I think, too, a part of it is a racial element because it's predominantly, minorities that are doing it.
Well, that's right. Well, but again, that's being done so that the worst elements can then become the dominant element within the minority groups, so that there will be division. Yes, it's very cold-blooded.
And it's so sad. People got to stand up. I'm trying to wake people up one at a time because you get in a group and people look at you like you're crazy. But when you can talk to somebody and you sit down and you show them individually, then the light bulb kind of goes on.
Well, sir, here's an example. Here's my Fox, D.C. Battered New Jersey agonizes over whether to rebuild shore. Environmentalists say New Jersey should consider not rebuilding everything lost to superstorm. See, Agenda 21 smart growth means We, the mafia, the government, we decide who can build and who can't. You can't build, we can. I mean, it's literally a takeover, sir. And if we keep complying, we're just going to be total slaves.
Well, the other thing that hit me, too, was, when they had that Haiti earthquake, they were quick to have a fundraiser. They're not even talking about having one for the people of our own country. Because the Obama phone lady, she's out there, she's got her free phone, she's comfortable and content, and she's, people like that are just,
Well, no. This is why, because they're going to have federal money go to only insiders.
It's just nuts, and it's disheartening. But some of these people you can't reach, and I made a spoof of the Obama phone lady, but it was Mitt Romney one-upping her because he's rich, giving away a free iPad to support him.
What's the name of the video?
It's just Romney gives away free iPad, and it's basically saying, I used her voice too. Vote for her. I'm voting.
Can
for
I find it on YouTube? We'll play it.
Yeah, I just did it because it's so ridiculous. You can't reach these people, and if you can't reach them, you got to try and.
No, absolutely. Listen, you asked why don't people care? Because they're in a trance. God bless you. Let's go ahead and talk to Fred in Wisconsin. Fred, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex. I was wondering if you saw the video that MoveOn.org put out with the people in the retirement home talking about if Romney steals the election, that they're going to burn this MFer down and punch him in the testicles.
You're joking.
Literally. No, literally. That's what the video says.
Has this been picked up yet?
I emailed it to you last night, but if you search for it on YouTube, you'll find it.
Okay, what's the name of it? Move On Video? What's the title? I'll look it up.
Move On Video. Let me see. I found it on Reddit originally. Move On Video. I would just type in "Move On Video Burn Down." It's going viral. They just put it out last night, but it's literally encouraging violence, and they're getting away with it because they're using people that are in their 80s, and it's like trying to make it cute because they're older and they're cussing and they're saying dirty words. It's incredible. See if your crew can find it.
That's one reason I think the media is covering up looting and calls for violence is they want to stir it up. But do me a favor, email it again to showtips@infowars.com right now, okay?
Okay.
It's Michael Moore doing it? Oh, so you guys already knew about it. I should have been told about this. You even did a story on the nightly news. I didn't know that. Is that the video you're talking about, caller?
It's a video. It starts off with an older woman that says that she first voted for Roosevelt.
No, I understand. What's the name of the video? If you just tell me, because or just give me the phone. I'll call Watson. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll send it over to you. I gotta find it again.
All right, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We'll look into that. Yeah, I mean, you've got all these people with Twitter and Facebook and the rest of it that are just allowed to say and do whatever they want. And then meanwhile, you've got the feds trying to go after the American people. If we simply say we don't want a new world order, they say we're crazy extremists, it doesn't exist, as the national news announces a new world order run by foreign banks. We've been proven exactly and totally right on every single front. We're going to go to break and come back with more of your calls ahead of Stewart Rhodes, and I'll continue with calls then as well. In fact, we've got Stewart Rhodes on for an hour and a half. We should just get him on at the bottom of the hour and then have him to the end of the broadcast. That's probably what we should do. Stay with us. Alex Jones here, back live. We'll go ahead and punch it up on screen for TV viewers. Here's the Infowars.com article where we link to the Daily Caller 2.5 days ago on October 30th. I do miss some things that are on Infowars.com, and I did miss it. And I went and watched it during the break. It is officially Michael Moore, and they call for burning down cities and sexually assaulting Mitt Romney if he wins at the Rosebud Nursing Home with real old people. And it says, a message from the greatest generation calling to burn cities and sexually assault Mitt Romney. And I can't play it on air Again, I'm usually ahead of the curve. Sometimes I miss stuff because I'm so busy, covering the hurricane and things like that. They simultaneously, though, have the different George Soros outlets saying that I'm making it up, that there are calls to riot if Obama loses. So it's amazing how these guys operate. It's like they control reality because they're speaking to a zombified public. That they pretty much do. And so they say, there is no world government, but there is, and we're going to take over. And if you don't like it, you're crazy because there's no world government. And they go, yeah, we're going to riot and burn things down if Obama loses, but you're bad and racist because no one said they were going to burn anything down. But we're going to burn stuff down if he loses. But you're bad if you say we just said that. And people go, yes, sir. That's right. Burn everything down if he loses, but it doesn't exist. And those of us that live in reality are just like, what's going on? The public is in a dreamlike state. They think movies are real. They think Gilligan's Island is a real place. They thought that in the 60s. They think that video games are real. People live in fantasy video game land now. They have all these virtual realities. This is the Matrix. And it's so scary to see the public this dumbed down. And I can't even keep track of it anymore because they were like, you didn't know about these other videos where they're threatening to kill people or attack people or burn things down? And I guess Michael Moore's putting out and Move On's putting out a bunch of these now. And I guess the Justice Department runs the Secret Service. I guess they're allowed to. They've been told. Remember Obama told Odinga when he was a U.S. Senator, told his cousin over in Kenya, he said, it came out in the letterhead, I cover it in the Obama deception, that if you lose against the Christian majority with your Muslim minority, riot, and then they'll give you a spot in the government. And they gave him the prime ministership. They created that position next to the presidency in kind of a split government. And so because the people are awake to this, it may not happen. But I mean, pretty clearly now, this is some type of ace in the hole that the system is thinking about using if Mitt Romney actually wins. And it's not that Mitt Romney's even a good guy. It's that there's different mafias behind these guys. And the group that wants Obama in is really enjoying the billions of dollars in no-bid contracts and the billions of dollars of deals that they're getting, shutting down their competition, shutting down car dealerships that they don't own, the energy deals, the Solyndra type stuff. So they just intend to keep this thing rolling. And, man, I mean, if I made a video and said physically attack Mitt Romney or Obama, I'd get arrested. If I did a video and even acted like it was a spoof and said, because it comes off as real. It's like old ladies going, I'm gonna burn stuff down. I'm gonna attack and rip the testicles off, basically, is what they say of Mitt Romney. I mean, it's just like, what? What? We posted the video 2.5 days ago. We'll repost it to the front page. The communists all over the world, in different countries they've taken down because they like to mass murder and control everything. They have gotten away with countless crimes. The fascists under Hitler did it, Mussolini. They were street gangs. And more the Democratic Party operates with a bunch of street gang people as their operatives who they cover up for and allow to engage in any type of crime you want. And that's now happening again with Michael Moore calling for old people and others to burn down cities and sexually assault Mitt Romney if he wins. And I didn't see this 2 days ago. I was, I guess, giving it my stack. But the headline was so mild, I didn't even watch the video. I mean, the headline should be, Democratic video calls for, burning cities and a sexually assaulting Romney if Democrats lose. I mean, it's so over the top. And so that video is up at Infowars.com. You guys put that article back on screen so I can give people the headline so they can find it since it scrolled off the main page. Michael Moore, MoveOn.org video features dirty-mouthed old people lambasting Republicans' Romney. Click on the Daily Caller, the original, because we just posted the video, and see if that's their real headline or if we did that. Yeah, just click on that blue link right there for me. Yeah, that's their real, I mean, that headline should read, Michael Moore video features old people saying they'll burn things down and attack Romney if, Democratic video calls for violence if Obama loses. I mean, that's what they did. See, but see, there's always this attitude in the media, oh, let's hold back. That's too sensational. Well, it is sensational. I mean, John Wayne Gacy killed dozens of young men and buried their bodies down in the basement. And I mean, what they say, oh, John Wayne Gacy was mean to some young boys down in his basement. No, he tortured them and buried them and dressed up like a demonic clown. Okay, that's sensational. But when it's sensational, it's sensational. All right, I got Stewart Rhodes coming up in 30 minutes, so we can just keep racing through your calls. Eric in Tejas in Texas, Julius and others, your calls are coming up. Toll-free number to join us, 800-259-9231. Eric, go ahead.
Hey, yes, Alex. It's nice to talk to you. I have just a few things to say. I'm a drunken patriot, so I do drink alcohol, but I still am aware. I want to say a few things. First, your attack with lawsuits, you need to do that. I'm in real estate. You always go on the offensive in the lawsuits. You do this. 2, Interfood. That stuff has kept me totally not with any sickness for 4 years since I started taking it.
We've got their whole line discounted at InfoWarsStore.com. They're awesome folks. Mike Adams heartily endorses them. And yes, Interfood, all available at InfoWarsStore.com. And again, all the purchases and things, shopping with us, the patriots, the people on the light side, not the dark side, is what helps fund our operation. They also have great organic, storable food as well, all available at InfoWarsStore.com. So what are you drinking today at 12 noon Central?
I want to go through my things because...
No, hold on. What are you drinking today?
I drink Red Dog because it's like really inexpensive beer. But your iPhone app, I listen to that like 60% now. The preparedness thing. If everyone thinks water, food, and shelter are all you need, they are so wrong. Communications, there's so many things. They need to get the Joel Skousen thing with you. And you know what? You are right. America is over. The choices are to flee or to stay and fight, because that's what's coming down to. And if we do stay, we need a continental Congress with you and all.
Wow, it's the intelligent drunk calling. I'm just teasing you, brother. It's just funny you're announcing I am drinking. I can tell sometimes people got the day off and they call because they're like, hey, Alex, I hear a fabulous job there. Hold on just a minute. Hold on, we'll be right back after this in the battle.
Cold and flu season.
The looting continues on the East Coast and the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy. That has been a pretty big disaster. Fox News is reporting environmental groups say under Agenda 21 they should not be allowed to rebuild the tourist areas that are so popular on the coast of New Jersey. They just say, no, it's bad for the earth to have houses. And they are the mafia chieftains. Of course, special insiders will be allowed to build. Bloomberg's used the excuse to lock down most of the city and say you have to carpool in, causing giant gridlock. It's all about having total control. MoveOn.org advocates violence against Romney in profanity-laden ad. Joe Newby actually got the headline right. I saw the Daily Caller. I'm not bashing it, but they're like, old people talk dirty in new video. No, they don't talk dirty or featured foul-mouthed old people lambasting Republicans. They call for burning things down and physically attacking Mitt Romney, ripping his testicles off, and an old woman simulates it. I mean, this is sick. This is sick. Ladies and gentlemen, if I put a video out, even if I was Michael Moore and said it was comedy and said physically attack the genitals of Barack Obama, imagine having an old woman say that, and that let's burn this down if Obama loses. While there's all these calls for violence, I will assure you, within a day, probably sooner, the Secret Service would be here, and they just go ahead and arrest me. There wouldn't even be, is this a joke? I mean, they take people mildly saying, Obama's over in Europe, wish he'd stay over there or fall off the earth, close quote, boom. I've seen people that have been Secret Serviced over that. But you go out and say, I'm going to loot and kill and attack and let's kill Republicans, close quote, let's burn everything down. It's like, more power to you, man. More Michael Moore, MoveOn.org, George Soros. Look at Media Matters 2 years ago. It came out. They said, we want to infiltrate alternative media, anybody that resists us, and we're going to destroy them from within. And Politico's ran a headline about how it was cute. Again, they normalize their attacks on everybody else, but then if we say we like, a particular flavor of ice cream, they say it's racist. Or if we don't like socialism, it's racist. By the way, we're going to cover this puppet election, obviously, right through, and a lot of false flags could get pulled. A lot of things could be done between now and the next 6 days. We are now less than 6 days, 5.5 days till Election Day, and 6 days until we find out, unless it's contested. And that could be the false flag, could be a contested election. And they've still got more looting and rioting, and the military and state police called out in New Jersey and New York because of, troopers deployed to New Jersey gas stations as frustration, massive lines form at the pump. So there's all sorts of problems, flooding, whole beach towns basically destroyed. And the local Agenda 21 says, you ain't rebuilding. Oh, you own that little hotel there for 2 generations? You got to come and get a special environmental authorization to rebuild, scum. Time to grease the palms or nothing happens, if you're lucky. It's for the earth, though. Anyways, this great promo put together with our own master of video editing, not just a great news anchor and reporter, Darren McBreen, with the voice of Jakari Jackson. So here is the special promo report premiering here.
Every 4 years, the United States of America hears the drumbeat of billions of campaign dollar attack ads, meaningless debate with empty analysis and poll after poll after poll. This can only mean one thing. It's time to pick our globalist puppet leader.
We're going to be left with a choice of a lesser of two evils. And I'm saying I don't go out with evils. I don't deal with evils. I don't do business with evils. I don't hang out with evils. Why would I vote for an evil to run my life or run my country?
Will it be globalist puppet A or puppet B?
They continue to vote for these Democrats and Republicans, the people that are wrecking our country, and yet they still vote for them.
Unlike North Korea and China, we Americans have the illusion of choice this November 6th.
I think that a lot of votes are going to be stolen.
I don't know how you could possibly have voter fraud when your son owns the voting machines.
1.4 million votes were lost, spoiled, as they call them in the biz, through these so-called glitches.
The choice is not up to you. Which management team from Slavery Incorporated will run our country into oblivion for the next 4 years? Tune in to Infowars.com or Prisonplanet.tv this Tuesday, November 6th, as another meaningless pageant is played out.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm going to be here Monday and Tuesday with the radio show, and then extended coverage, 7 o'clock Monday night until probably 10 at night. We're going to go live with some of the news packages, and then Tuesday night, live, streaming video, free video box for everybody. We've already got stations and cable systems, not just here, but all over the world, lined up once I start putting the news out on satellite and the file sharing systems taped to air in the next 6 months or so. We're racing to get it done, but we're busy finishing some studios and things. And I want to thank all of the listeners and viewers for your support, or we couldn't be doing this. Thank you so much. And sure, everything could collapse next week. I hope it doesn't, or I could die in a car wreck today, God forbid, or you could. But we're just moving forward as if we're still going to be here, in the next year. There is a lot of tyranny, a lot of behind-the-scenes attacks against us, but because of your support, we're able to do this. But every time you buy a book, buy a video, buy a T-shirt, get a magazine subscription, every time you, buy my films, every time you spread the word about the show, every time you support a local AM or FM by spreading the word about the broadcast or supporting their local sponsors, every time you locally sponsor affiliates we're on. If you're listening, I'm talking to you. They gave me the new affiliate list, and I looked at it. I don't know. Genesis are great folks, but I don't know what is so hard about getting all the affiliates. I guess because they're overworked up there like everywhere else. And over the years, things are coming and going. But, I got an affiliate list with like 110 stations last week, and I said, I know it's more than that. Then I got another one like 130-something, and I looked at it and said, this local station isn't on there. And then David Knight walked in. His wife still lives up in North Carolina. They're moving down here soon, one of our new reporters. And she listens on a local FM commercial station. So we got to, I mean, they just, we get calls from stations. We don't even know we're picking it up. The show is exploding right now by the grace of God. And it's because of all of you praying for us and supporting us, but also program directors, station managers, station owners, advertisers that have stood up for America. So many station managers have called Genesis and said, I heard Alex 10 years ago as a guest on our station with a host saying they're going to have mega banks implode the economy and bring in world government. It's all happening just like he said. I'm putting him on. And then they're getting huge responses. So we've got a chance to beat the globalist. If despite all my foibles and all my problems, I've had this much success by the grace of God. And there are people out there doing little things, big things, you name it. It all adds up together. So I salute you. I salute you. I salute you. I salute you. All of you out there, just absolutely amazing what you've done. And people say, oh, thank you, Alex, for doing what you're doing. Yes, I can be put in prison and set up or killed. But you know what? There's no future if we don't beat these people. Okay? I mean, last night, my parents were having not even a Halloween party. They just had a few friends over for a fire out in their little fire pit in their backyard. And my kids were over there. And an old family friend of my parents came over. And like I said, known him like 20 years. And he was like, yeah, I was talking to my son about, if you believe all this, and we think you believe most of it. No, I believe all of it. I mean, I want that to be clear. I make mistakes sometimes. Sometimes I exaggerate or I have hyperbole. That is the minority of the time. I don't do it on purpose. Most of the time it's worse than what I say. Historically, I've seen that, okay? And believe me, I wish this wasn't true. But it's a responsibility to fight these people because they're doing really bad things to women and children. And people are like, well, that's cheesy. What is this women and children thing? I've gotten emails saying, what's this old-fashioned, look out for yourself. That's how you get ahead. That's the new, moral intelligence is to just, no, that's how societies collapse. That's how societies go the way of the Goonie bird or the dodo bird. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And that's what civilization is. It's getting in the face of bullies or bullies will take over. Okay? It's real simple. And bullies are taking over. And it's going to get real bad, folks, because we're giving them a green light. So, danger, Will Robinson. So used to the phone numbers being over there, now they're over here. Rob in North Carolina. Rob, what's on your mind today, sir?
Hello, Alex. How you doing?
Good.
Hey, I had two things. I wanted to kind of ask the audience to do something if they have children, and I also have a question regarding like a bug-out country, if you want to call it that. But what I'd like, I actually have the luxury of owning my own business that I didn't build, of course, and I've got a little 6-year-old daughter, and I actually go to her public school. She's in first grade, and I'll actually eat lunch with her about once a week.
Very evil.
It's terrible, but what's really even worse is the food they serve there. It's just, I can't describe it. It's absolutely terrible. It's like green beans aren't even green, and it's...
Now, the lowest grade of food that cannot be sold in grocery stores is dumped on the kids.
Yeah, it's absolutely disgusting.
And now the mafia nationwide is saying, you're going to pay us for this crud, Mac. And most parents literally bow.
But please, for the folks that are out there that have children, spend some time with the kid, go to lunch with them at the school, and actually eat the school lunch. And then you're going to decide that you're not going to want to, buy the food. You're going to want to send it the pack lunch with the child.
Do you mean you shouldn't just mindlessly trust the system and just turn your kids over to people and have no idea what's going on, even though public schools are watching kids with cameras in the bathrooms and forcibly inoculating them and taking them to have abortions without parental consent? You mean we should watch a group of known criminals run by foreign banks indoctrinating our kids? How extreme. If you are going to have your kid in a government training camp, it's good to have that as an education for them of how this is birth in the New World Order and let them be soldiers in the info war to wake people up. Great job, sir. God bless you. We're going to come back, try to race through more calls here. We're racing. I took one call in the last segment. Deborah, Jeff, Julius, Philip, your calls are coming up. Then we've got the founder of Oath Keepers joining us.
It's a death-defying life I lead.
If you go up to Infowars.com, Steve Watson just put out a new article. Big Sis loaning out military-style drones to sheriff's departments. Privacy group sues. And federal court ruling that they can put cameras on your property without telling you. I mean, they're putting up microphones and cameras and transformers and light poles everywhere and admitting it. And they're announcing again they're looking at taser bracelets to fly, and I predict people will take them and put them on. Woo. Kurt Nemo's got an article, police state growth rate of cops exceeds population growth, but more and more they're paramilitary SWAT style, or they generate revenue. They don't respond to crime. Oh, man, I love it. It's so good for our country. Let's go to Chris in Florida. I'm being sarcastic, folks. Chris in Florida listening on WTAN 1340 AM. Get a lot of calls, a lot of listeners on that great station. You're on the air, Chris. Welcome.
Thank you, Alex. Are you aware that on Judicial Watch 1, their Freedom of Information Act request lawsuit against the Department of Justice this past July 23rd, where it was revealed where U.S. District Court Judge Reggie Walton ruled in favor of Judicial Watch that they were involved conspiring to with the trial attorneys to have dismissed the cases against the new Black Panther Party and their voter intimidation of 2008.
Yes, I was aware of that, and now it's coming out in federal documents in court. Like, that's in my stack. I haven't gotten to it yet. I'm going to dig it out and cover it. That the federal government is having Mexican mafia kill cops that are actually enforcing the law and arresting their dealers. So, I mean, the federal government is a murdering mafia, period.
Absolutely. They're protecting these agent provocateurs as, of course, an excuse to divide and conquer us and an excuse to take away our rights in case somebody...
They're letting Michael Moore put out a video saying, let's burn things down if Romney if Romney wins. I think we now have, with the cussing bleeped, and saying they're going to sexually assault Romney, and the old woman simulates ripping his testicles off. I mean, folks, we would be arrested in hours for that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, absolutely. And then we have here in our local community-sponsored station, fake liberal progressive station, that is having the new Black Panther Party Chief of Staff, Michelle Williams, on prior to, of course, her arrest 2 weeks ago for trying to sell a house that never belonged to her. And she's trying to capitalize not only on the Trayvon Martin shooting, you know, she's the one who was calling for George Zimmerman's head dead or alive. And
then she didn't get in trouble for that.
No, she didn't. And then she's trying to capitalize on a Javon Neal shooting by police, where finally when the police footage was released, it showed that, yes, he was carrying a shotgun, and he was trying to elude police from about 5 seconds in front of them, and the police shot him because they alleged, it wasn't shown on the video, but it's pretty clear that they had to defend him.
No, listen, it's just like Trayvon Martin. They showed a 5-year-old photo of him. And then the black neighbor said that he was bouncing Zimmerman's head off the concrete. Then the photos got released of Zimmerman's bloody head and everything else. And it turned out, and it's a tragic thing that it happened, but it turns out that the Justice Department, this came out, remember MSNBC editing the tape? Aren't they being sued over that? To have it sound like Zimmerman was saying, you know, like, oh, he's a black guy, he must be bad, but it was totally edited. They asked him, what color is he? But they cut that part out. It turned out the Justice Department had provocateurs in there trying to get riots going. I mean, it is unbelievable the stuff they get away with. They've been caught with Fast and Furious, and no one's gotten in trouble.
Oh, yes, and these are the issues that our local WMNF community-sponsored station says nobody cares about Fast and Furious, and we have 3 of the personalities on the station who are trying to use Michelle Williams as a proxy to capitalize on these deaths on the unfortunate black teens. And then, WTSP, local Channel 10 station, does show those pictures of George Zimmerman with his head cut up, and they say that they don't care how the jury trial is going to end. They keep on accusing him of using the racial slur coon, but never mind that Michelle Williams is using racial epithets all over the place.
Look, here's the deal, and I appreciate your call. We're going to go to break and come back with Stewart Rhodes and more calls. But listen, here's the issue. The globalists have destroyed all our communities. They started with the black community. They broke up the families. Then they give a gangster culture to the kids. And then they try to basically play us all off against each other. It's absolutely disgusting. The liberals just want blacks to think they're their friends so they can make sure 52% of them get aborted. That's what it's all about. The liberals want black people dead. For the balance of the transmission, we're going to be talking with Stewart Rhodes here in just a few minutes, and we'll continue with your calls. I know I've got a lot of questions for Stewart. Can I have that list of key items he'd like to get into first, though? We'll let him announce those here in just a moment. But I need to get to this first. This video has gone viral the last 2 days with 1.596 million, and the way YouTube lags, it's probably like 3 million right now, really. It's tired of Bronco Obama, or O'Bumbles, and Mitt Romney. And the website is Elizabeth Evans. We're going to try to get her on the show. And she's authorized us to play this video here on air. And it's her daughter. You know, I wanted to put my 4-year-old daughter when she was 2, 3, 4 because she's so cute. And my other daughter is now 8 years old. I wanted to put her on TV, but my wife won't allow it because they're so cute. But this little girl, there's very few as cute as my girl. She is so sweet and just as cute, which is like cute to the power of infinity. But it's funny, when they showed me this video this morning, my children is the same way. They go to homeschool groups. They go to church groups. They go out at wherever, you know, Laser Blazer to play laser tag. And other kids will come over and say, are you for Romney or are you for Obama? And when my 10-year-old son says, I don't like either of their puppets, they go, oh, you're a commie or you're this or that. But the Obama kids threatened to kill my children. They threatened to call the police on them. At a homeschool group where there's just a few liberal kids in it, they went to the teacher and said, call the police. He doesn't like Obama. I mean, I'm telling you, these are authoritarians. And again, it's not that I like Republicans. It's just that Democrats are so bad. You've got some people that are Democrats that mean well, who aren't into all the weird Democratic Party stuff. But it's a weird gang, folks. We're going to play this little clip of this little girl crying, saying she's sick of the election. Because kids understand at a tribal level, there's two groups fighting. It goes on and on and on. And then kids bring it up, and people get sick of it. This is how they divide us between Republican and Democrat. And people get real tribal as Republicans or Democrats and get real mean. I remember covering the disputed election results in 2000, because right downtown is the governor's mansion here in Austin, and Governor Bush had supposedly won. But while that week-long fight went on in the Supreme Court, I would just go down there and cover it, and I would have Democrats hitting me with signs. I'd have Republicans doing it, and the cops would just let them do it. As long as you just kind of henpeck somebody, didn't hurt them too bad, they leave you alone. An ABC cameraman attacked me because I was getting video and he didn't want me out across the street. He wanted a shot of the governor's mansion, and he was telling me that, you know, I tell you, you go out to a big event with reporters, they'll step on your feet, they'll get in front of you. You're like, dude, am I going to have to punch you in the nose? I mean, you're like stepping on my feet. This has happened to my crew. They think they're God because they're mainstream God media. But the point is, it just gets so crazy. Meanwhile, the globalists own both sides to a great extent. But yes, the Democrats are their open communist movement, and then Republicans act like they're opposing it and make you think you have a choice. It's kind of like the Republicans with this little life jacket, but they're tied to a big chain ball that pulls you under the water as well. That it would take 50 life jackets to, make buoyant. But since there's a life jacket, you think they're keeping you safe. And the Democrats, there is no life jacket. It's just a big ball and chain. But let's go to this little clip of tired of Barack Obama and Mitt Romney. Here it is.
Just because I'm tired of Barack Obama and Mitt Romney.
That's why you're crying? Oh, it'll be over soon, Abby. Okay? The election will be over soon, okay?
Okay.
Oh.
Again, everybody is sick of the election, and I quite frankly can't wait for it to be over. But if it is disputed, move on. And George Soros and that crew is now pushing this. Now I've edited out, or my crew has edited out the serious profanity and things, but they basically call for violence, call for fires, call for ripping Romney's genitals off, and she says, "I'm going to rip his genitals off. I'm gonna punch him in the genitals," and then she shows the ripping motion, and this is cute and funny, and it's like, oh, it's just a joke. But if you or I did this, I mean, constantly in the media, they're saying, I'm calling for violence, I'm going to cause violence, and if there is any violence, it's my fault, when we're the opposite. If I did something like this, folks, I would be crucified. Here it is. A message from the greatest generation, produced by the self-propelled stomach, Michael Moore.
I was born in 1915 during World War I. My first vote was in 1940 for Franklin D. Roosevelt, and I have not missed an election since. And I want the Republican Party to know, if your voter suppression throughout this beautiful country enables Romney to oust Barack Obama, we will burn this down.
Sí se puede.
I have 4 generations of family on this earth, and my life has been very blessed. And if the Republicans steal this election...
Back it up to her saying, we'll burn this effer down. And then they cut to a guy in Spanish saying, yes, we can. And let me tell you, you got 30 million illegals who've already rioted and pulled down American flags, and kids in San Francisco, Hispanic kids, can't wear American flag shirts, okay? Because it's a pro-Mexico nationalism gang. We're not allowed to have our nationalism. I saw an article criticizing the Star-Spangled Banner. I've heard all these countries' national anthems. We definitely got the best. The Russians got one that sounds really good. But ours is the best. I mean, the words, it's good stuff. And I'm just sick of it. I mean, listen, they're creating a moral authority that if Obama loses, this is election tampering, that there's the moral authority to burn things down, and there's the message, hey, illegals, burn it. And you can see once they get enough dependence in this country on the government, you know what? They're going to bring in democracy, which is 51%, telling the other 49 they're slaves, 2 wolves and a sheep voting on what's for dinner. It's just, that's why they're so arrogant and don't care. That's why the federal courts are ruling they're going to put cameras in your house and without warrants, and they're going to bring police dogs in your house without warrants. They're doing whatever they want. We got a crook government. Period. We're going the way of the Soviet Union and Nazi Germany if we don't really get in these people's face right now. It doesn't even mean within the controlled fake left-right paradigm, they're bringing the country down. Now again, it goes, and we're going to Stewart Rhodes, but I want his take on this when we come back. But I mean, calls for violence, calls for killing on Twitter, calls for looting, all of it happens. We're criticized for saying there'd be looting. I mean, they are encouraging this in the culture. This has been out now 3 days, and I just learned of it this morning. Our guys posted it to their credit 2.5 days ago. Here it is.
We will burn this down.
Sí se puede.
Yes, we can.
I have 4 generations of family on this earth, and my life has been very blessed. And if the Republicans steal this election, I'm going to track down Mitt Romney and give him the world's biggest punch. What's the matter, Sonny? You never heard that phrase, punch? Right in the
motion of ripping testicles off.
I served during World War II. I'm the last of my buddies still here. And I've got a message for our kids, for Democrats, for anyone who cares about honest elections. If you let the Republicans do this to you again, after we die, we're going to look down on you from heaven, and we're going to make a point of watching you have sex every time, no matter how kinky.
Especially if we are related.
The best way to stop the GOP from stealing the election is to make sure it isn't even close. Go to votersrising.org.
Sign up and help get out
the vote. Unbelievable. That's enough. Just turn it off. I mean, these are people, and again, I've been around these type of leftists. They're really, when you get around them, they're for eugenics. They think the school should take your kid and make them have an abortion. They're just sick freaks. and they love government. That they've all worked for the government. They've been in the government, and it's their, what does Big Sis call it? Maybe we should have her come out on stage for TV viewers. Big Sis calls it the federal family, which is a foreign banking cartel that runs the federal family. And they're not going to stop, ladies and gentlemen. They are not going to stop. They want to take over. They want to take your houses, your cars. They want to conscript you. The Democrats want the draft back. They are the scum of the earth. Let's go ahead and go to Stewart Rhodes, and then we're going to get to Philip, and we're going to get to Julius and Jeff and Maggie and so many others. Just totally and completely disgusting. And then we've got on the other side Mitt Romney, just another flavor of the same cyanide-laced Kool-Aid. But again, the Democrats play the part of the radicals. Stewart Rhodes is a founder and president of Oath Keepers. Stewart graduated from summa cum laude from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. He worked as a professional sculptor at the Nevada State Certified Sculptor, concealed carry firearms instructor. After college, he worked at Representative Ron Paul's Republican Texas D.C. staff. That's a professional trainer. Stewart graduated from Yale Law School in 2004, where his paper, Solving the Puzzle of Enemy Combatant Status, won the Yale Judge William E. Miller Prize for Best Paper on the Bill of Rights. He assisted teaching U.S. military history at Yale's History Department, was a Yale research scholar, and is now writing a book on the dangers of applying the laws of war to the American people. While practicing law in Montana, he also serves as a volunteer firefighter, oathkeepers.org. That's really got the globalists scared of him right now. They just arrested a guy a few days ago in California, and they said he had bomb-making materials, and that the proof of his extremism was he listened to the Alex Jones show, and then the ADL went on to say how dangerous I am. So the frame-up continues. Stewart, I want to get into all the points and topics that you want to cover, which I think are very, very important here today. But first off, Stewart, what do you make of the Democrats? Clearly, it's not just that. In announcements, in videos, advisors to Obama saying, stage something, you're not going to get elected. That's in the Financial Times of London, Newsweek Time. They act like we don't see them full view. It's not that we're even for Romney, but clearly they ran Fast and Furious and other criminal false flag stage provocateur terrorist events. Is there nothing they won't do? And what do you make? Because it turns out there's a bunch of these videos Michael Moore's putting out calling for burning U.S. cities and saying, yes, we can, which is the communist slogan in Latin America. Folks don't know that here, but that's where Obama got it. What do you make of this? TV ads saying we'll burn down cities if Obama isn't reelected. Yes, we can in Spanish. I mean, there's no doubt they're trying to run a false flag now. Whether they're successful or not, we don't know. But Katie barred the door. We can see where this is going to go when they've got 60 million illegals, not the 30 million. I'd rather, get the illegals and wake them up to the Second Amendment and make them great Americans. But the problem is they're being inducted into globalist ideology, Stewart. I mean, I just see this. I mean, you're a military historian. I'm a novice that studies it quite a bit since I was about 10 years old as a hobby. And I know what this is. This is a foreign banking force bringing in groups to balkanize the country for subjugation and subdividing the original republic, and then merging that republic with a larger globalist order, which has all been announced. Stewart, what do you make of this?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's divide and conquer. It's setting up the problem and then offering the solution, which is just more control. Just as they say that independent nation states and the problem is like the Federal Reserve is a national organization and it needs to be an international organization. Same thing will happen when it comes to civil unrest and political division. They'll say this paradigm isn't working anymore. We need to go beyond this, get beyond politics. Let's merge into something better. That's what I think is going to happen. And so yes, balkanization and divide and conquer of the American people, getting them fight each other is part of their program. And the two major parties are really run by the same people, as you know. They're two birds, the two wings of the same bird of prey, and they're totalitarian. So the leftist totalitarians are the counterpart to the neocons on the right, who are also totalitarians. And so the paradigm really should be seen as freedom versus tyranny. And which side are you on when it comes to that? And too many Democrats are obviously on the side of tyranny, but only just their own flavor. But it's really just a shell game, and it's designed to get you to support one brand of tyranny or another and give you that false choice and make you choose tyranny either way. You know, heads they win, tails you lose.
Again, constitutional lawyer Stewart Rhodes will be with us for the next hour and 15 minutes or so. We appreciate you coming on, Stewart, and I want to get into issues that you want to focus on. Then I want to get into larger geopolitical and how you think their takeover plan later in the next hour is going to progress in the battle space that they've developed versus how we're trying to affect that. And by the way, folks, we're in the fight. That's what people need to realize. There's millions of us fighting, thousands of us prominently. People need to understand, all of us together are literally holding this back while we're being criticized by COINTELPRO and others who act like they're in our ranks with infighting, hoping we walk away so the shields fully fall. And because believe me, folks, if we weren't here doing this, we would have already been deep into this. The globalists admit, Brzezinski's new book, that they're years behind because of the liberty movement, 7 to 10. But now they're accelerating and telescoping and compressing it. But I want to, as we go to break here, mention this, Stewart. You just talked about how first they bring it from county to state, from state to federal, then the federal goes to centralized, then the new centralized Security Council is signed over to NATO and the UN. Obama's executive order 13228 of October 8th goes over this. There are other executive orders. Actually, I printed the wrong one. I need the new Obama order. This is from 2001. I need the new order that he reissued on the Homeland Security National Security Council. But if you look at the Rural Affairs Council, if you look at the 10 FEMA region governors, all of it states it's now under Homeland Security, which is now separate from the other agencies, claiming it has power when Congress before had control to a great extent of those agencies. So we see it all being transferred. Obama coming out as well, saying that NATO is now in charge of our military. Your comments on that, Stewart?
Well, it's part of the same plan. This is the relentless drive toward centralization and to supplanting our constitutional structure with something entirely foreign, with a totalitarian structure. This is a battle between freedom and tyranny, and one or the other is going to win. And so, as you said, they're shaping the battle space. We are too. It is a fight right now. We're kind of in a cold war, and it's going to be a hot war eventually, unless we can attain a mass consciousness shift and have a peaceful restoration. It's going to be a hot war. So we're just getting ready for it. They're telling us they're getting ready for it. We should get ready too.
And they've told us they're going to take us to re-education camps and kill us. I mean that's official. That's their plan. The re-education camps. I've got the executive order now. We'll give you the number when we come back after this quick break. It's at whitehouse.gov. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Central, 12 noon to 3 p.m. Eastern. We're here. I'm Alex Jones. Stewart Rhodes is our guest, oathkeepers.org. We're going back to him in just a moment. Strategic Relocation, the film, is now out and will start shipping next week. I will premiere Strategic Relocation Monday night after the news for Prisonplanet.tv viewers. If you are a Prisonplanet.tv subscriber, Monday night, the news shouldn't be longer than an hour. So look about 8 o'clock Central. We'll premiere the entire 2-hour, 40-plus minute presentation, the extras and all of it. Strategic Relocation, the film. Stewart, you know, I just plugged that because I was already going to plug it, but I noticed in some of the points you wanted to talk about, you said strategic relocation, something you've been advocating over the last couple of years. And people think that means you're scared. No, it means you're moving militarily to the best areas that have the best people, that have the best backups, if you can. But the film and the book, Strategic Relocation, also tells you region by region, if you have to stay in an area, the best place even around your city, escape routes, you name it. It's situational awareness. This is the opposite of being domesticated. Stewart Rhodes.
Yeah, absolutely. Why would you want to stay in an artificial environment? I mean, the powers that be want you to be maximally unprepared and dependent upon them. And no better place for that than in a city. And so why would you want to leave yourself in the most vulnerable position possible? Why not get out of the city? So as you said, even within states that are not maybe the optimal states, there are still better places to be. Get out of the cities, get into rural communities, get back to the foundation of America, which is small towns and local communities. I mean, Jefferson's ideal was a rural agrarian society of independent farmers who own their own land, because you're going to be stronger and more independent if you are that.
And notice that's the opposite of what the globalists want.
Exactly. They want to depopulate the rural areas and drive us all into cities.
Which is what Stalin did, which is what they've done in Mexico. Every Lenin, Mao, every authoritarian does this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what Stalin did to the kulaks, the independent farmers, is a good example. They cannot have independent people who can grow their own food. They do not want you to be self-sufficient. So the answer is don't do what they want. Do what they don't want you to do. Become more self-sufficient. Move into a place where there's still a real community and where folks grow their own food and strengthen it. Become, again, what America should be.
That's right. And again, for those that have studied military history or history, we know this. They want us in a siege system within their stockade. They want us as prisoners. When you look at the conversion all over the world of civilization, the design is to a prison giant re-education camp grid. Smart growth is a prison grid. They want us to voluntarily plug in to a prison grid.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why we need to do the exact opposite, get out of the cities and become strong communities again locally. Focus on your towns and focus on your counties. If you can get to a better state, by all means do it. But if you can't, get at least away from the cities in your area like you've done in the hill country of Texas. Get out where folks still, live like America used to live and become stronger. And that's the place to ride out the storm. As you said earlier, it's not being done out of fear. It's being done out of strategy.
Well, that's right. Well, I mean, we went out to a small town outside Austin a few years ago with the children, and everybody was saying hi to us and being nice to us. And my wife, who never really lived in the country, she said, well, in Austin, they don't talk to her. The environmentalists get mad. They come up to her at Whole Foods if she has 3 kids and tell her she's evil. She said, these people are smiling. These are nice. And I said, yeah, we need to move to the country, because she didn't want to do that before. They're not under pure programming yet, but they are sending imperial globalist strike teams, and I mean that seriously, of Agenda 21 people are hitting nationwide like Empire Strikes Back. Imperial probe droids are plopping down everywhere. Right now at your city council, their operatives literally are there. They use codes, everything. It is a military invasion force we're fighting. Stewart Rhodes is our guest. Your calls are coming up. A bunch of other important news to hit. Stewart Rhodes, military historian, constitutional lawyer, Yale graduate, worked with Ron Paul, founder of oathkeepers.org, great patriot all around. This is a short segment, long segment coming up, but I want to get into this, Stewart, because I was mentioning it. We tend to have a normalcy bias, but sending my reporters around the hill country, but also covering other stuff around the nation, going to smart growth conferences myself, when you get there, when you realize the fake environmental movement is the core of their takeover, it's their friendly front, these people use hand signs, these people use codes with each other. They'll come into a small town with $3 million, $4 million just to grease palms. They are it's how the CIA would infiltrate and take over a country, and that's what it is. In fact, we go interview some of the professors, and turns out they're CIA or CIA connected. They're building smart growth substations where they spy and create files on people. I mean, this is a military system we're facing.
Yeah, they're watermelons. They're green on the outside, but they're red on the inside. And so the environmentalism is just the latest. It's like this one of the tools to be used to drive people.
But I'm saying they actually are using military terminology is what I'm telling you.
Oh, yeah, I understand. Yeah, I agree. And so it's on the other side of the coin, it's national security. So both are just programs to get you to swallow and accept what they have planned for you. And they put the best face forward on it.
That's right. They use national security to get the right wing to bend over, and they use environmentalism for the left.
Exactly. It's just part of the same two-party paradigm that's driving us towards totalitarianism.
Well, I mean, the thing is, debating them and any of this doesn't do anything because they're operatives. They're there analyzing and literally using you as a data. So, I mean, how do you deal with folks like that? You just call them right out.
Exactly. You don't try to change their minds. You focus on exposing them for what they are, and your actual audience are the people that they are trying to manipulate. It's a battle for the hearts and minds of the general population.
I found, though, once you show people little data printouts and things that they're operatives and they're tricks, the crowd instantly still has good instincts and joins you.
That's right. And truth will win out, and that's why they want to stop guys like you and guys like me who are exposing what they're doing and speaking the truth.
What do you expect them to try on us? I know you've had some stuff behind the scenes go on. It's starting to intensify for us.
Excuse me? I couldn't hear what you said.
What do you expect them to do to try to shut us down?
Well, more demonization and more chaos and any excuse they can use to shut down the Internet. The Internet is the most powerful education and outreach tool there is. And so they know, as we've talked about before, they know they're running out of time. As you said, they're behind their schedule. We bump things up. The liberty movement is growing exponentially. They know their time is limited. Their days are numbered. And so eventually they're going to shut down or try to shut down free speech, shut down the Internet. That's why it's critical that folks start working now on alternate communications like ham radio, even going back to carrier pigeons if you have to get ready for that system, the Internet to come down eventually. But while we still have it, we need to keep growing the liberty movement and maximizing the number of Americans who don't care about left and right, don't care about Republicans and Democrats, but care about liberty. And so that is happening. We need to keep doing that, but while we also do that, we need to start focusing on getting ready for the fight and getting ready for the economic collapse that is going to come. I believe that's what they'll use in the end to pull the plug. They'll create chaos.
All right, stay there. We're going to break. When we come back, I'm going to give you the floor in this next long segment. Break down historically as a military historian and constitutional lawyer how authoritarians have done it before. We're seeing the exact same paradigm with a high-tech integrative overlay. Very wicked. But truth trumps it all, folks. If you'll just have courage and realize they're the bad guys, they must be met. And then I want you to break down how you see this unfolding in their takeover and how you see the resistance forming via the states. That's why their entire program is there to shut that down. You got it. You got it. And what do we see? We see 7,200,000,000 people, fathers, mothers, children, and all our ancestors that came before us, who lived their short little lives as well, who had hopes and dreams. And always we see good people stepping down, kneeling to tyrants in the name of security and safety, and giving up more and more of their hard-won, hard-fought freedoms. No one can deny that basic freedom is on fire, burning down to the ground. But America, even though it's basically dead and freedom worldwide is fading, in government, in the heart and in the mind, it is actually becoming brighter because you go through a cycle. People become decadent because they've had so much freedom. They don't appreciate it. Things fall apart. Then the tyrants come in. Then things get worse and worse. People fight it off. Then they appreciate liberty again. Then because they've had liberty, incredible prosperity comes. People become corrupt and decadent again, and the same cycle repeats itself over and over again. The difference is we're now in the 21st century, and the tyrants have got a lot of sophisticated tools, and it blows back on them, but they can't help it. They just have a will to power. They want to be the Übermenschen. They want total control. Well, if you were the Superman, you would know that you want to empower the species because you were so great. You would not want to stunt people so you could be the Übermenschen over a bunch of snails. Because you're not really a Superman, and that's what the globalists want to become, this enlightened creature if you're trying to hurt and dumb people down. That is not what a Superman does. Let's just get that through your little minds. Now, Stewart Rhodes was talking about internet shutdown and ways they want to try to bring in cybersecurity to take control of the web. And there's a major gear up through the Pentagon, setting up NSA centers in every city and even small towns and rural areas to surveil people, to target people, to control people. But once they're identified, and you should find these bases in your area. I'm about to expose some here in Austin. Even giving them a heads up, I'm coming. And why? Well, because we want to get your full response, don't we? Like, I might even do it today. I got to get around to that. I've been a little busy. We need to go and confront this and not be afraid. Our reporters went down and showed the NSA giant complex in San Antonio. TV and radio and newsprint They've all had their cameras taken by the police. We just got there, and I told Jakari Jackson, just hand him a news article about the NSA losing a Maryland suit, saying people couldn't film it. And the cops didn't have to be told we're going to sue you. That was next. And they went, oh, you guys can see. You guys got the sunglasses. Oh, well, we'll just leave. I mean, what's it going to do, videotaping a big illegal criminal NSA base? We're not the bad guys. Stop acting like we're the bad guys. You know, and again, the globalists put out this idea with the militias they tried to take over 20 years ago, 15, 16 years ago in that area. By demonizing the idea, putting radicalizers in there, and then everybody sneaks around at night with their guns and plays secret agent. Folks, we're out in the open. We're out in the open buying 3 to 5 million guns a month. We're out in the open calling you murdering criminals. We're out in the open exposing you. We're the good guys, okay? You understand that? And again, we're not heroes, ladies and gentlemen. This is basic survival. These are really nasty authoritarians. If we just had some boss hogs taking over, it'd be bad enough, but I wouldn't be that worried. It'd just be, well, that's too bad we're corrupt. These are nasty control freaks that want to run your life. We've had the FBI informants on, famous people, who testified to Congress and got weathermen convicted. They were in the meetings with Obama's advisors when they said, we're going to put 50 million conservatives in camps, we're going to kill half of them. Now in the new Army manuals, it says re-education camp. They use that term. I'm going to shut up. Stewart Rhodes, you've got the floor here, founder of Oath Keepers, constitutional lawyer. How do you see them taking over? We see the battle plan. What's their battle space versus our battle space? How do you see this playing out in general terms as a military historian as well?
Well, first of all, what they're doing is flipping the constitutional republic of the founders upside down. Under free republic, we would be self-sufficient in strong communities. We would be self-responsible in the militia, taking care of our own defense, our own domestic security, both in our towns, counties, states, and as a country. It's supposed to be the militia who takes care of domestic security, not the standing army.
And that's just upright men and women everywhere with assault rifles like Switzerland and basically no crime.
Right, but we should be organized, too. I mean, they expected us to be drilling and training just like they do in Switzerland. I guess you could say what the National Guard was supposed to be, but on a larger basis. Everybody who's fit should be in the militia and training and under the command of their governor. But that's not what we have. We have state militias only in name in the state constitutions, but they don't really exist. They're no real units. It's not supposed to be just atomized individual gun owners. It's supposed to be gun owners who have their own weapons, but also train and organize at the town, county, and state level. That is supposed to be the force in America, the military force. Standing army is supposed to be very small. And then the other side of it is, the law enforcement side, is the sheriff's posse. Same thing. You're responsible for your own security. That's why I don't like the meme of the sheepdog. A lot of guys in the military and police and veterans really get into being the sheepdog, guarding the sheep. And they look at the sheep and they say, well, productive Americans who are defenseless are still good citizens, but they're just sheep and we're the guardian. That's not how it's supposed to be. We're all supposed to be our own guardians. That's the answer to that ancient question of who shall guard the guardians, is that you be your own guardian. It's supposed to be a class of citizen soldiers across the country. And so we should get away from this idea that it's okay to just be a helpless, ineffective, incapable of defending yourself or feeding yourself worker bee, and then have the warrior class, and then have the, like in Plato's Republic, where they have the working class, the bronze, then the silver is the warrior class, the honor, people that focus on honor, and then the highest is supposed to be the philosopher kings, the gold class. That's a totalitarian system. We're not ants. We should be self-sufficient, independent farmers and landowners and businessmen, but also warriors who train and are ready to fight to preserve our freedom and defend our own country. That is what we're supposed to be. They replaced that by gutting that system, taking away your personal sense of responsibility and honor to be the militia and be the posse, telling you, don't worry about that. You just go work and we'll take care of your security for you. And there's no such thing as a free lunch. And, buying into that paradigm has put us where we are. So now it's easier to get a Katrina going or some kind of chaos during a storm like Sandy or during an economic collapse. It's far easier because you have a bunch of people they have become like a nation of sheep, relying on a professional warrior class of sheepdogs. That's the problem. That makes you very vulnerable and very easy to manipulate through chaos, whether it's election cycles and riots after an election or an economic collapse.
And that's why they've gotten rid of dodgeball and then even jogging at the playground, or a kid gets beat up and he fights back, they expel him, not the kids that even attacked. The idea of, well, look at England where they arrest you if you defend yourself. These criminal nanny states, the greatest crime is being a man.
Exactly. You want to emaciate, exactly right. You want to emaciate all the men, and also even women, though. Women are told, don't fight back against rapists. Last thing you want to do is try to use violence. Violence is never the answer, and all this kind of nonsense. And so you wind up with a society where the only people who are competent at using violence are either the government or private criminals. And so those, gangbangers or SWAT officers are the only two people who have any kind of competency and act like men. And those are both perversions of manhood. On the one side, you've got violent criminals who just, out for themselves, might makes right. But on the other side, you've got the government doing the same thing. Might makes right. They're hyper-violent.
And they want that monopoly. I mean, a true warrior class would want to make all the people under them warriors as well for the greater strength of the society. But you notice, oh, no, you shouldn't defend yourself. You should call us.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Native Americans. Every man was a warrior and a hunter. And look at the early colonial Americans on the frontier. You had to go out there and defend yourself because there was no one else around. And also, look, even in the New England towns, you were expected to be in the militia. You are not an ant. You're not a worker bee. You're not a worker ant. You're supposed to be taking care of all those functions, not just the one or the other. So this is the problem: is the paradigm has shifted from independent, self-sufficient, but also within a community being strong and being willing to step up and take care of business. It's gone from that to a society of just consumers and a society of passive Americans like the Eloi in the time travel movie. They just sit around and they're just waiting to be eaten.
And the Morlocks, well, H.G. Wells was a top eugenicist. He admitted that was all an allegory of what they were establishing, Stewart Rhodes. You're absolutely right. But they haven't domesticated everybody. So you got 150 to 170 million gun owners. They're getting hyper-aware, hyper-ready. I mean, that's pretty much checkmate if they try it and we resist them, because our culture is actually so much more inviting than this dead culture of ninnying, that the ninnies are getting more ninny-like, but I'm seeing actually an acceleration of rediscovery, and it's infecting everybody with the fires of liberty. I think that's why they're moving so quick. So how are these two worlds going to collide?
Well, you're right, and especially in rural America, if you get out of the cities, see, their dream is already almost fulfilled in the cities. Look at Chicago or New York, where everyone thinks it's horrible to own a gun, and they feed into this. But you go to rural America, and like out here in Montana, you can live 15 miles from a major road, and around you is nobody else but you and your neighbors take care of each other and yourselves. When you're out there hiking or hunting in Montana, you're attacked by a grizzly bear, there is no cop going to come save you. You have got to take care of it. And so by default, you have to be more self-sufficient. And that's the way it is in rural America, which is why they want to depopulate rural America.
Yeah, by default, I mean, we got rattlesnakes out by my house. You got to have guns. I mean, you live out with grizzly bears. You're going to take a gun with you when you go to the store because a grizzly bear might come around the corner. I mean, again, it's so simple. We need to go back to being humans, stop being domesticated. Stewart Rhodes, stay with us.
Have you ever wanted to generate your own?
I was told this story by a big musician, a famous rock star, about how this song got made. I Want to Fly Away. And I looked it up when I got home, and no one knows the story. Then I was told I can't tell the story. Oh, it's so ridiculous to be told stuff and it's always off record. Stewart Rhodes is our guest. Listen, folks, we're not trying to scare you. We're trying to say, hey, you smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day, I think you're going to get lung cancer. I mean, it's just, look, we got tyranny. Stewart Rhodes is a constitutional lawyer, taught history at Yale, worked for Ron Paul. I've read so many history books it'll make your head spin because I just got into it for entertainment purposes. Started reading my dad's science fiction books when I was, 6 or 7. He had like those little science fiction magazines that had the easier to read stuff with all the pictures. So I started reading that. By the time I was 10, I was like, ooh, this history thing is even more entertaining. So I got all the knowledge. And now, but I mean, you don't even need knowledge to know this is tyranny, folks. The point is, it's moving quick now. Stewart, short segment here, long segment coming up with more news and calls. Stewart Rhodes of Oath Keepers. But so how do you see the clash taking place? Because Oath Keepers are trying to wake up police and military. I'm not putting a good face on it. I'm being honest. I see a lot of police waking up and a lot of military. What are you seeing? But how do you see this colliding? And you're seeing economic collapse. They just turn things off where they want to make you dependent, which goes back to, while we still have an economy, we better all get somewhat self-sufficient.
Yes, exactly. And this is a fight to the death between two smaller groups. On the one side, the freedom movement, on the other side, the totalitarian movement. And in between is the great mass of the average American. And so it is a battle of the hearts for the hearts and minds. On their side, they use fear. Their greatest weapon is fear and helplessness in the population. And on our side, our greatest weapon is truth and courage. And if we can wake up the American spirit and remind them of their own heritage, of being brave first and foremost, not being driven by fear, and then being honorable, we can shift the average person back towards the ideas of liberty this country was founded on. So truth is a great inoculator. It once you wake somebody up, like I said in my speech at Paul Fest, once you're woken up to the false left-right paradigm,
there's no going back.
They cannot. Yes, exactly right. They'll never again control your mind. And so we've seen exponential growth in the freedom movement. My big concern is I believe that if you give it enough time, we will win. But I'm concerned that we are running out of time and that they will attempt to short-circuit our ability to go out there and wake people up. It's why I focused on the guys with the guns first. It's a subset of the liberty movement message. I mean, the whole liberty movement is about reaching out to people, teaching them the truth and what's been going on, and then, lighting a fire of liberty in their mind to do what's right and be strong and not be driven by fear. And I'm doing the exact same thing with police and military, is focused on them because I believe we're running out of time. So I hope to buy the liberty movement more time so that we can keep on doing that with the general population, but I focus on the guys with the guns first.
Sure. Define what it means to be honorable. I mean, here's the deal. When I know criminals are taking over, I don't need to be told to resist them. In my heart, I feel it in my heart right now, a need to resist them and a absolute drive to know they've got to be stopped. That's just survival instinct. I think we call it honor, but I really just think honor is being human and following the good sense God gave us.
Yeah, exactly right. And it also goes back to the warrior model, too. A warrior, the highest calling for a warrior is to defend and not to be an enforcer. And it's not just to cover your own rear end and to preserve yourself only. It's to defend the weak. And so, if you're going to be a man and you're going to be, called a man, you should be willing not just to defend yourself and your family, but also your community and your country. And the way you defend it is you speak up and you stand out and you step up and you call out the oath breakers and you confront them, like you said. You don't cower in fear. That's why I don't like the paradigm of the secret prepper also. I can understand if you're living in inner city New York, you wouldn't want your neighbors to know you have food stores, I guess. But the real answer is to step out there and build coalitions and community and help each other. You cannot just be an isolated prepper, an isolated survivalist and think you're going to be doing anything because you're no longer being a force.
Or you can run a compartmentalization where you do things you don't talk about, but you have the public persona as well, offense, defense.
Sure, you betcha.
All right, long segment coming up. We're going to get more into this, but I'm going to tell a parable, an analogy of something I discovered Monday. Because, folks, none of us know that much. Those of us that know quite a bit realize how little we do know. The fool thinks they know everything. I'm learning new things all the time. But I have an analogy straight ahead with Stewart Rhodes, your phone calls, a ton of news, and a lot more straight ahead. They're coming out with all the robot cars, as I told you, and sure enough, they're announcing, hey, the robot cars are safer. We're going to make you be under robot control. You can still act like you're driving, but if you make any mistakes, the robot's going to take over second to second. Lexus is getting ready to roll that out. Folks, they mean business. They mean business. The future doesn't need us. All these science fiction movies got humans going to foreign, planets and things. The globalists plan on just getting rid of humanity, and they think they're going to evolve and merge with computers. Hey, I'm not the one saying that. The New York Times and everybody's always saying, Alex thinks this, Alex thinks that. No, I'm reading the news where the globalists are saying this. They're a bunch of maniacs, and I've had enough of them. And they're going to drones and combat robots, you name it, to cut humans out of the equation. That's why we've got to get it's like the force of water, humans are. There's billions of us. It's only a few thousand top globalists and a few million minions that serve them. Here in the U.S., it's the same in other countries per capita. And have you ever gotten in a stream that's just going a few miles an hour, how hard it is to stand up in it? See, if we just push, if we decide we want organic food, boom, they'll stop growing the inorganic because there won't be a market. That's already starting to happen to a great extent. That's why they're panicking. If we say we want guns and just start buying them and using them and getting somebody into guns, literally, it's over. You take one brainwashed minion who's scared and has 5 locks on their door, take them, teach them how to shoot, teach them safety. They're like, well, that's no big deal. That's easy. You've now deprogrammed them. Their whole programming will fall. Just like people started saying, hey, slavery's wrong in 1800. Very small percentage. 60-something years later, it was outlawed. Folks, big ideas, big things start small. When you're on the right, you can't be stopped if you keep moving the ball down the field. Now, I'm going back to Stewart Rhodes of Oath Keepers. If you just tuned in, I'm Alex Jones. But I want to explain something here to everybody. I, am not a, super healthy person. I used to be a big sports guy, got out of it, got into being unhealthy, eating like a pig and stuff, and didn't work out for about 10 years, except for going on an occasional hike. It's a lot harder to get back into shape than to grow up in shape, let me tell you. But I go and I swim a couple miles a day most days. I go on, 8-mile hikes. I go on little 3-mile jogs, go through all the little injuries and stuff of being out of shape, being fat. But I started noticing on the hike and bike trail, people not wearing shoes on hike and bike trails with limestone cliffs, rocks, gravel, you name it. And I was always marveling. On an 8-mile hike last week, I was always marveling how they did it because, it hurts to walk over pebbles and rocks. So I went for a swim Monday early in the morning, and I said, I'm going to go down to the hike and bike trail, and I'm going to take my shoes off, and I'm going to walk a half mile and walk a half mile back. And the first 100 yards, I thought I was going to have to turn around. But you know what happened? After about 400 yards, ladies and gentlemen, my feet went numb. And when I turned around to that last half mile, I jogged back to my car with no shoes on and only had a few little cuts on my feet. It was so easy. It was so easy. And I'm going to go jog now again. This time I'm going to jog a mile with no shoes. Now, folks, to me, it was like foreign planet to see these people running with no shoes. I'm not talking about a dirt trail, folks. I'm talking about rocks and gullies and everything. And now, I'll guarantee you, if I do that 10 times, folks, I'll be able to do what they do. And it's the same thing with liberty. Now, it's the converse, and the globalists write about this. I had a big banking CEO once on a first-class flight to New York to go on The View, sit there and go, people will put up with anything. They will adapt, and we use that. And that's the point is they know they can incrementally get away with evil and we'll accept incredible things, including them killing us with cancer and all the rest of it and not even notice. They'll use our adaptability to destroy us instead of our adaptability to defeat them. Stewart, do you get the point I'm making of how important this analogy is?
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's a good analogy. They want you to believe that you need them, that you're dependent on that system, that there's no other way. And of course, the easiest counter is to go back to being a natural human being.
But I mean, believe me, I had trouble walking across. My parents got a bunch of gravel at their house. I didn't like walking 50 feet without shoes. But I was thinking, well, when I was a kid, I ran around everywhere without shoes, through gullies and everything. How did I? And the weird thing was, in one little mile walk, I already had gone light years. I mean, it's just incredible. And we can do the same thing politically. People think it's uncomfortable to speak out and get involved. Just start doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Go back to, like I said, being a full human being. It's like growing your own food. Or, as you said earlier, learning how to defend yourself with a firearm. These are basic human functions. We've abdicated our own personal responsibility basic human functions. It used to be women had children. My wife's had all our kids, all 5 kids, home births. Used to be that was the norm in America, as it is in most of the rest of the world. You don't need a doctor for that, unless you have a serious problem. So getting back to being natural and taking responsibility for the full spectrum of human life and the full cycle of life is where it's at. And the powers that be don't want that. They don't want you raising your own children and homeschooling, for example. They don't want you doing home birth. They don't want you deciding whether you want to be immunized or not and choosing not to. They don't want that. They want to eliminate choice, and they want you to feel like you have no choice whatsoever. And the same goes for your own security. They want you to turn over your security to professionals and to be Eloy and be defenseless. And their answer is always more and more power. To protect you, we must disarm you. Look at the average airport. That is our future. If they get their way, the entire country and every square inch will be just like an airport, where you could have your beverages checked every now and again, make sure that you're not going to poison yourself or somebody else. So that's their drive. That's their paradigm, is that you need them. You need to be subject to them, and they need more and more control. Their answer is always more and more control. So your response should be like, we don't need you, and we're going to live as free people now. Don't wait for a lot of you past. Don't wait for a political party to do this. You do it as an individual, but also start focusing on community. You're going to need each other to ride out the storm. You need to have not just you and your family. You need to have close friends and allies, forming mutual aid societies and mutual defense societies now.
Well, here's an example, and we'll go to calls with Stewart Rhodes, founder of Oath Keepers. Again, I'm Alex Jones for tuning in for the first time. We're now on over 130 AM and FM stations. One of the few true, diverse areas of media where the opportunity is talk radio. And I support, licensed AM and FM stations. I think there's a place for that statewide, not really federal. I don't like the FCC. But I get in that limited spectrum, the fact there needs to be a basic process, kind of like striking a claim. But that said, in an emergency situation with tyranny and all the spots they have open on the dial now with digital, they were supposed to give local community stations or local small groups, these 100 and 300 watt stations. They didn't do that. That was supposed to go to micro FM. And as long as micro FM, known as Pirate, doesn't interfere with commercial stations, it's such an important thing. But I have watched from afar. I don't know all of them, but I've met some of the people over the years involved. The local group in Austin with 90.1 FM, and we're on 99.7 KLBJ, we're on 590, we're on some other stations in Texas. But the issue is 90.1 shows up high in the ratings. It's a micro that's been there for years. It covers most of the city. And the people involved just pass it around over the years. Different people run it. That's why I'm not sure he's running today. I've met him at events and things. But I happen to have read in the news a while back, it's going to the Supreme Court. They've been winning in federal court to have this micro FM that covers a city of 1 million people all the way to the Supreme Court now. And that's people fighting to get the word out and put my show on, and I'm not even influencing them or asking them, going to the Supreme Court. And again, it took them years to even come after it or find it. The government's so slow. They all operate off of our compliance, is my point, Stewart.
Yeah, and also on your laziness, too. I mean, the average person out there just defaults to turning on the boob tube and CNN or listening to whatever's on the radio. They're relying on that. And so that's why I love the internet and I love talk radio. These are ways of getting around that control grid. And so we need to encourage that and utilize it ourselves.
Sure, here's an example. They try to block people getting small AMs that just go around the neighborhood or little FMs that cover the neighborhood. Then you plug it into an internet site and then broadcast at your neighborhood, put up signs. Everybody starts listening. Now they try to block domestic groups selling these little stations, whether it's a tenth of a watt, whatever, to anybody. But there's government's so slow, you can still order it from foreign countries. The point is, folks, be the change you want to see in the world. Go ahead.
Yeah, exactly. If everyone in the liberty movement were to just go and get one more person looking up, then you double the size of the liberty movement. Then you do it again and again and again, and we win. So, replicate yourselves. Don't just speak to the choir and be in a sound chamber with you and your friends. Go out there, attend community events, join organizations. You can work through your church. You can work through veterans organizations, local, the Shriners, whatever it is. maybe not the Shriners, but it's whatever you want to do. Just work in your local community.
No, I say go into the. I just say every group. I mean, I've thought about marching right into the Masonic temple and saying, you guys all claim you helped found America and fighting tyranny. You better get out there and do it instead of promoting evil. I say, I say go to LULAC. I've gone to La Raza. I mean, I've over the years gone. I'll go to anybody and try to wake them up.
Yeah, I mean, you got to pick your battles. I try to focus on people that I think are more receptive.
Yeah, like Second Amendment groups, Ron Paul type groups, you name it.
Yeah, just even just non-political groups. Just get involved in your community, and you'll meet people. Like with shooting, you go out to the range and you shoot. You become shooting buddies, and then you start talking to them about what's going on. And once you're friends, it's a lot easier to switch them on rather than running up to them and saying, "Hey, this is going on." They don't even know who you are. So get to know people. Yeah. Get to know neighbors again.
I want to go to calls. I want to go to calls, instead of just watching TV all day, drive through neighborhoods. Look, the reason we sell the InfoWars magazine that's now 60 pages, glossy, ladies and gentlemen, with a full-size poster inside, you name it. The reason we sell these is they're really just color booklets. But it's not a booklet. It's the size of the old Rolling Stone. It's huge. We sell these in bulk in groups of 10, 20, up to 100 at cost. It comes out to like $1.40-something a piece to wake people up, and it will do it. And folks, you need to get aggressive because they can have internet kill switch, but if you have got these magazines, these, again, are powerful weapons to wake people up. These are seeds that you can plant. Stewart, I want to go to some calls, but people can subscribe, get 12 issues sent to their friends and family at InfoWarsStore.com, InfoWars Magazine, or they can buy them in bulk at InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139. But Stewart, just briefly, because we've got to get to calls as promised, what do you see as the time frame on all this currently right now? Is them trying to stage a false flag, or where all this is going?
My concern is that I think we should operate under the assumption we only have a matter of months. And the reason I say that is because they understand they have to do something soon. Liberty movement is growing. And so I think it's better to err on the side of caution and prepare yourselves for, take it 3-month chunks. Assume you only have 3 months. And then roll that over again. If you get past 3 months, great. Then do it again. But strengthen your position as much as you possibly can for yourself and your family and your friends, your local community. Operate on the assumption you only have 3 months at a time. But while you're doing that, you're waking up other people and getting ready at the same time. Do both together as a two-pronged attack.
You know why? You may be right about it. 3 months. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but they're currently got their finger on the trigger. They've got all the new TV shows coming out where the militias are going to kill everybody. It's a full rollout. They've got the public news rollout that we're the new terrorist. And so it's the pre-hype is like what we saw before 9/11 introducing Al-Qaeda. And so they definitely have got their finger on the trigger.
Yeah, and also we've been hearing, and you can look at the economy, of course, and see from that itself, if days are numbered, it cannot stay up much longer. But we've also been hearing from sources inside the government, they're preparing for an economic collapse. This has been going on for the last couple of years. And you've heard a lot of that. I've heard a lot of that through different channels. And so we know they're getting ready for it. And so we should expect it to happen.
You're right. Let's jam in some calls here. Julius in Pennsylvania, patiently holding. Welcome, Julius.
Hi, thank you, Alex, for having me. I just started listening to you last week, and let me tell you, I've pretty much since I was a little kid, I've always questioned all these conspiracies, and I thought it was nuts. And it wasn't just you; it was Governor Jesse Ventura who confirmed it and everything. And I just wanted to say thank you for your leadership. And with God's help and your leadership and my own wisdom with my family, I'll be able to prepare as best as I can for what I hope is not true, but I guess it is true. And I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Well, thank you. I mean, people are always saying, when's the New World Order coming? We're already in the hot water. We're in the tub like Bugs Bunny when, the pygmies are about to cook him and they're lighting the fire. We need to get out of the cook pot. And people need to understand, where's the war, Alex, that they were going to have in the Middle East? They've got wars going in 3 countries now on top of Iraq and Afghanistan. It's all going. They just don't call it a war. We're already going into martial law when they have checkpoints on highways and stuff and are suspending. Stewart Rhodes, federal court rules that they can put cameras on your property without warrants. I mean, come on. That's CNET News. I mean, this is outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, this is the problem is we're running on a short timeline towards conflict. They're putting in place not just the surveillance structure, but the totalitarian enforcement structure of bringing the war paradigm home and destroying what's left, the ragged shreds that are left of the Constitution. They're destroying the Fourth Amendment. They're destroying the Fifth and Sixth. The right to jury trial is being thrown out the window. All of this is happening. And so, of course, people say, then what are you going to do about it? Well, the answer is to wake up people to the illegitimacy of it, and especially among the military and police and veterans or critical groups, so that fewer enforcers will be there to do it to you, and more confident people who know how to fight will be ready to fight. And I'm not disparaging the average private citizen. You should also learn. Don't rely on a professional warrior class. You go and become a warrior too. Go to an Appleseed shoot, learn how to shoot your rifle.
Exactly. None of us are looking for trouble, but my family's not going to one of their FEMA camps with a bunch of pot-bellied communists having their way. It just isn't happening. And we all need to work as hard as we can now so we don't have to do that, folks, because here's the deal. These authoritarians aren't going to give up without a fight. We just, like Stewart said, we got to affect the battle space now and get as many people as we can awake, okay? Because they want to take you to a torture camp. They like raping children. They just arrested another TSA raping little kids, reportedly. I mean, this is what they want. You understand? Go ahead, Stewart, sorry.
Well, and the other answer is civil disobedience. If you have, like you said earlier, when you get moving with a large mass of people, they can't be stopped. And so one answer is don't comply. Be willing to be like Henry David Thoreau and be willing to go to jail for your noncompliance, but spread that meme of noncompliance. And it all comes right down to is being courageous rather than fearful.
And sabotage the enemy at any level you can. The worst. Yeah. Gotta love Muse. Patriot listeners of the show. Last time I checked, the only news websites they link to are Infowars.com, Prisonplanet.com, and they have said on record they are listeners of this show. Mr. Bellamy popped in one time to the show. And again, I'm not bragging. I'm saying, look, all over the world, people know the score. And no matter how authoritarian this system gets, once we know it's criminal and bad, then we just remove our support and they fall like Ceausescu. It comes down to that. So expose the globalists, but also get prepared with Strategic Relocation, the film, now available at Infowars.com, and spread the word about the transmission and our local AM and FM affiliates. Philip in California, you're on the air with Stewart Rhodes. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you, Stewart. Honor to speak with you. Question I have a couple questions. I'll get to them quickly. The first one is for someone who's trying to prepare themselves and really gain the training that's necessary. Is there any kind of recommendations, Stewart, you could provide as far as how to approach either former or current members of the military, et cetera, in training?
Go take Appleseed training, learn how to use a rifle, learn how to shoot at about 200, 300 yards first, and just know how to hike and know how to defend yourself. That's what I'd say, Stewart. Yeah,
that's right. And of course, you can also just go and go to your local VFW hall and see what they need. Maybe you can work with them to help your community get more prepared. And within Oath Keepers, we have an Operation Sleeping Giant program that's focused on outreach to veterans. If you want to jump on board with that, contact us through oathkeepers.org, and you can help us outreach to the veterans. But the best thing to do is to, if you know there are veterans out there, get with them, and they can plug you into guys they know that have decent training in the military, and they should be out teaching people and replicating those skills. The average American should have basic infantry skills. That's what you're supposed to be doing. If you don't know how to move, shoot, communicate in a fire team and a squad, then you're not a full American, frankly.
I mean, the big deal is here, folks. I've just, like most people that are pro-liberty, just grew up in it and know how to, been shooting guns since you're 4 years old. You tell people that I've never shot guns, they don't understand. But, I mean, the biggest thing is you need a 308-style rifle. And you need to learn how to use it. And also, you need to decide what your red lines are, when you're going to have to defend yourself against criminals. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yeah, that's a part of it, definitely. I'm working on trying to train myself now and using YouTube. One thing I was thinking of, which using PlanetInfowars.com, I'm a member of that, so thank you for it. If there's more service members could provide they're providing some insight on that. If they could provide more insight, that'd be great. And then I'm trying to reach out to people from there to develop networks and
sure, but it's like you said. I mean, you know, the main thing is it's not that it's bad to go out and try to get military training. It's that if you did it on Craigslist, it's going to be a cop wanting to go meet you, and they're going to meet. They're going to go, let's kill people. And even if you say no, they'll just give you plastic explosives and put you in jail and put you on the news because they've been told they'll be promoted if they frame somebody. You know, the bigger, I'm talking about feds when I say cops, you know, the biggest issue is there's a lot of military historical associations. There's a lot of shooting clubs. Get into a shooting club and then just don't say, I want to military train. Then over time, you'll meet good people. I mean, it's not an automatic process. Do you agree with that statement, Stewart?
Well, there are people out there who provide training in small unit tactics. The main thing is don't get involved in discussions of illegal actions. You can train and learn the skills without being snared. Don't let someone talk to you about committing crimes.
Stay there. Let's take a few more calls with Stewart Rhodes. All right, a little final segment here with Stewart Rhodes. I want to jam in a few more calls for Deborah and Aaron, maybe Rita. We have time. Ray, but they're all been holding. Real fast, Sleeping Giant. Tell folks about that operation, Stewart.
That's our outreach to veterans focused on first, preparedness, second, security, third is sound money and financial independence, and fourth is state sovereignty and local sovereignty. We want to focus on those four main preparation points so that we can strengthen our communities. We think veterans could be very, very powerful leaders in doing that in their local communities.
That's right. The globalists have captured Washington completely. They brag. I mean, I'm not just saying that as a figure of speech. We are occupied. Now they're trying to mop up the states. We've got to take the states back to defend them from foreign infiltration. We've still got those bulkheads the founders put in place, the Second Amendment, the jury, the grand jury, the state bulkheads, the firewalls. They've breached a lot of them, but we still can use these as positions to try to restore the republic from. Deborah in Texas, you're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, hello. I'd like to say hello to both of you.
Thank you.
My question is, when they move to a higher scale of threat, let's say, for example, scientific engineering or social engineering situations, what do you think about the possibility that there were maybe even scientific investments in the HARP weapon?
Well, I mean, ma'am, they admit major weather modification. The White House ordered DHS to control hurricanes. That's Washington Post. I mean, it's definitely going on. And that's the problem with this national security state. They've got trillions of our dollars to do whatever they want in secret, including shipping narcotics in. Stewart, your take on that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear what you just said.
Yeah, we need to get you headphones when we do this because you got to keep your audio down or it feeds back and you can't hear us. Well, she was talking about HARP weapons, weather modification.
I'm not really an expert on that, unfortunately.
No, I understand. Aaron in Alaska, man, that was a good point. Thank you, Deborah. Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just checking with you being, anti-globalist, anti-police state. I got pulled over for a DUI on ATV, and my girlfriend was in my truck. 2 vehicles behind me. The law in Alaska is the cops have to take all the firearms in any stop, and the cop got a call after he put all 6 firearms, over $3,000, on his trunk, got a call for backup, drove off, damaged all of them. The police... State troopers will not give me a report on it, and they gave me instructions, but those instructions they gave me do not fall.
No, I mean, all you have to sue them in small claims court, get their name, and drag them in there.
But that's a law in Alaska that they have to confiscate your guns? That's kind of bizarre.
Yeah, I don't think so. You're a constitutional lawyer. We don't know that law there, but Alaska law is pretty in line with the Constitution, right, Stewart?
Well, I mean, they've got permanent list open carry, which is good, but I don't really know what law he's talking about. He could be right. I don't know. If he is, then that's ridiculous. So you need to change the law, work to change the law in the state if that's the case.
Yeah, I had no firearms on me, and they took them from a vehicle 2 behind me, and I'd been drinking. I did end up getting charged for DUI, but I didn't get felony misconduct. Because I was stopped.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would have just told them you're not drinking. You know, the issue here is it's none of their business. It's all a fraud, and people need to stop talking. Don't even lie to the cops. Just don't talk. And
how'd they know there were guns in the car, two cars behind?
They walked up to my girlfriend in the car and started asking her, and it is a state law up here that you have to declare firearms. For the
but I mean, what do they do? Pull 3 cars over at a time?
Well, we were all stopped at a stop sign, and they nailed me to a stop sign. I wasn't even moving the ATV, so
and then decided to grab a bunch of other cars. Well, I'm glad they're stopping the narcotics the military ships in, and I'm glad they're stopping the UN child kidnapping rings. Oh, I'm sorry, they weren't going to do that. Stewart Rhodes, thank you so much. Great job. InfoWars Nightly News tonight is going to be power-packed, 7 o'clock Central, and retransmission with key intel. Coming up straight ahead. Stay with us.